What's up guys, my name is Fox. In this video we're going to talk about Dragoon in Dawntrail. First I'm going to go over the changes that Dragoon has received in Dawntrail, then I'm going to show you how Dragoon plays like at level 100, and lastly I will of course tell you how I feel about the new Dragoon. If you're unsure about leveling the class, this might be the perfect video for you. If you already have it leveled, please let me know in the comments how you feel about the new Dragoon, because I'm of course very interested on how people feel about it. Now let's have a look at the changes first on the official Final Fantasy XIV website. I'm only going to cover the important changes. One of them would be Winged Glide, which is our replacement for Spine Shatter Dive, which is gone. Instead we get this. We have 2 charges, no potency, and can only be used to the targeted enemy's location. While, for example, Viper's Dash can be used 3 times and can be used to party members. Not sure why it is so different. Chaos Thrust, only potency stuff. Dragonfire Dive, more potency, but also gives you access to a new skill, which is important later. Of course, we're going to talk about it. Bad Litany also increased from 15 to 20 seconds to align it with all other buffs mostly. And then our first big changes from Fang Claw, Wheeling Thrust, and Drake's Bane, a new skill. What's important is that Fang Claw and Wheeling Thrust are not locked anymore behind using Full Thrust or Chaos Thrust. They are now just their basically self-sustaining skills. You can use them whenever you feel like it, but you shouldn't do it. The whole rotation hasn't changed at all. It's just that they're accessible at all times. Now the big change here is that instead of doing Fang Claw into Wheeling Thrust or Wheeling Thrust into Fang Claw, you will now be using Fang Claw into Drake's Bane and Wheeling Thrust into Drake's Bane, which has no positional, by the way, which means that you have 1 less positional per rotation basically, which is of course, well, a little bit easier to say the least. So that's the first big change. You will see it of course better in the gameplay afterwards. Then Gerskugel is another very big change. It is completely different. It's simply put now a buff. You activate it, you get 15% more damage. You enter Life of the Dragoon and for 20 seconds, and you get 3 stacks of Nastron ready. So you will then be able to use Nastron afterwards, which is completely different than what it used to be. No more gathering Mirage Dive eyes and stuff like that. It's just something you can press in the opener. It's quite comfortable, to be honest, but that's a very big change. You will, again, if it's doesn't make sense, you will see it in the gameplay footage I will show you. We talked already that Drake's Bane, just to note here, Drake's Bane has the same potency as our Heaven Thrust, so this will be our second go-to GCD for Life Surge. Now Mirage Dive is basically only an OGCD of 200 potency, nothing else anymore to it, no more stacking eyes and whatnot, that's all over. High Jump, same boat, always used to be like that. Radiant Thrust, no real changes. Stardiver now gives you access to a new skill. We will see it, of course, later. Not much else. It still is really heavy on animation lock as it used to be. So nothing has changed there. The rest is all potency stuff here. So our first new skill is Rise of the Dragon, and it's basically another OGCD that you will get access to after you use Dragonfire Dive. Pretty good. It's just another OGCD to press. Nothing crazy. Lance Barrage and Spiral Blow, 2 upgrades basically. Nothing else has changed here, just upgrading, looking cool, looking different. And our last ability is Starcross, which you get access to after using Stardiver basically. So another OGCD. Thankfully, it does not have as much of a animation lock as Stardiver. Now the only thing that's good is that it's only a 3-yard skill, so you have to be in melee range to actually use it. And then very last, goodbye Dragon Sight. It doesn't exist anymore. Then we're going to look at the normal combo sequence that they're also showing us here. It is, as always, through Thrust into Lance Barrage, into Heaven's Thrust, Fang and Claw, into Drake's Bane, and then we restart with Through Thrust, into Spiral Blow, into Chaotic Spring, into Wheeling Thrust, into Drake's Bane. That's pretty much it. It's the same as it was before, just that instead of doing Wheeling Thrust into Fang and Claw, you do it into Drake's Bane now. So let's have a quick look at the changes that Dragoon has received. We're first going to go over the normal combo. We, of course, as always, apply our dot and buff. Then we're going to look at the first change. So we usually would do Wheeling Thrust into Fang and Claw, but upon pressing Wheeling Thrust, we will change into Dragon's Bane, which again has no positional, so you don't need to move for it. Then we of course do our normal Heaven's Thrust combo here. And again, you will observe the same phenomenon. So we're going to be using Fang and Claw, and we have Drake's Bane. Now, important to notice, Drake's Bane has a potency of 440, just like Heaven's Thrust, which means that Life Surge can be used on Drake's Bane instead of Heaven's Thrust, making it actually a bit nicer to use overall. Now, you might be seeing this stack here. This is basically just Whirlwind Thrust, so nothing with eyes anymore. If I use my high jump, you will see how it turns into Mirage Dive now, but there's no gauge, nothing whatsoever affected by it. It's simply put just damage. Now the most important change really is Gears Google. Gears Google upon usage gives you a big fat buff of 15%, and it will give you Nastron ready, so let's press it. And we will see how we have 20 seconds of Life of the Dragon. We can press Nastron now 3 times basically and use all of our charges. Then of course we have access to Stardiver, and once we use Stardiver we can use Star Cross, the new OGCD, which does decent damage. Otherwise, like I said, Dragon Fire Dive, which should be used under the effect of Gears Google of course, or Life of the Dragon, also after pressing gives you access to the new OGCD Rise of the Dragon. So then everything we saw now, we're going to combine it into our opener and our 2-minute window. I'm going to show you the opener and the 1-minute window. No potion, because this is the second time I'm recording it, because I triple weaved in the first attempt for some reason. But basically there is a lot going on. We start off as usual. Here is where we use our Lance Charge and Potion. Then we're going to pop Battle Litany with Gears Google. We're going to be using all of our OGCDs of course too. Don't forget that. There's a lot of OGCDs. There's a lot going on, a lot to do really here. I genuinely mean that. I think it's quite fun, honestly, but I will talk about that specifically later on. Now, a change still for the positional here that I don't have anymore because I'm used to it, but basically that's how your opener looks like, and that's how your 2-minute window also will look like. It's generally a lot that is going on, especially since of course the devs know that every 2 minutes we are bursting. They put usually heavy mechanics there, but it's a lot of movement also in some fights. The Stardiver still is a bit of a problem because it locks you in place so much, but otherwise it is very, very busy. The 1-minute window is not so busy. You will be using Lance Charge again, Gears Google of course, and Stardiver with the new skill also. So let's have a look at the 1-minute window. We will be buffing, of course, our Heaven's Thrust. We go into the window. Now I delayed my high jump for no reason, really. But you get the idea. This is how it looks like. And this is what you want to execute on Dragoon. So yeah, that is a demonstration of the rotation of 1 minute and 2 minutes. But now let's have a look at what I think about Dragoon. While overall Dragoon did not receive crazy amount of changes, it definitely feels a lot different. I've played Dragoon in Shadowbringers, I've played it in Endwalker towards the end when I returned. It was my first job then again, and of course now a lot already in Dawntrail. It was the first job I leveled to 100, and I am enjoying myself a lot on this class. I think the changes that Dragoon got are overall quite positive and make it a lot more fun to play, to be honest. You have a lot more OGCDs to press. You have your Nastrons every minute instead of only every 2 minutes. You have your Stardiver quite frequently. Everything, it's just, there's so much more going on than before, to be honest. It's really a lot. And I think that it's overall really, really, really fun if I just look at the package that we have now that we call Dragoon. Now, there's of course a few things I personally am not such a huge fan of. One of them would be that we have the second positional of the Fang and Claw combo gone, with Drake's Bane being new. I think that having the second positional there was always quite interesting. It felt nice, it felt good. It being gone is a bit of a shame, to be honest. It does make it a little bit easier, but overall that is something that I don't know, I feel like they should have done it differently, maybe enhance the next Fang and Claw or Wheeling Thrust, but having new skill without positional is something I think is a bit sad. Then I mostly want to talk about also the Mirage Dive changes, so no more collecting eyes for your Life of the Dragon, which is a bit sad. It feels like high jump and mirage dive are kind of weird parts of our kit now. Their only purpose is damage, which is totally okay. Everything's purpose is damage, but they always had this purpose since forever to give you the eyes that you were collecting, because of obviously the lore that we are collecting Nidhogg's eyes, you know, in Heaven's Ward, and maybe you know about it, but it was basically part of what Dragoon was and why it was played the way it was. And part of me feels like that's a bit sad. I feel like it's weird that high jump and mirage dive have no more purpose besides damage now, no more collecting the eyes. On one hand, I prefer it this way. On the other hand, I think that's a bit sad. Yet the overall experience I have with Dragoon is a lot better. Like I said, this class feels absolutely fantastic to play. The only problem is we need to play it at 2.5 GCD. We rely on Square Enix not putting skill speed on our gear, which is never great because there will be skill speed on some pieces of gear. Maybe at 2.49 it works too, but overall, this class feels really, really, really good. It feels also actually very strong. Your opener is strong. There is honestly not many downsides to it at all. Before, it was a bit static and it felt a lot, I want to say, lame in a way, because I really like the aesthetic of Dragoon. I really enjoy the way it looks, and the spear weapon, it's great. But I never lasted playing it very long because I felt like it was too repetitive and a bit too, I don't know, just lame in a way. But these changes really made me enjoy Dragoon a lot more. It's super busy, super fun. Another small downside is Stardiver. I really don't understand how Stardiver is still this insane animation lock. Now, on one hand, of course, it is also part of Dragoon's identity to be someone who has these jumps, but in certain burst windows where you have to use Stardiver, high jump, and also Dragon Fire Dive and everything basically at the same time, you will be stuck to the same spot nearly, because every jump locks you a little bit, not much besides Stardiver, and then you might die. It happened to me today, for example, in one of my extreme raids that I was doing. But that's the only thing. I feel like they should have maybe reduced the animation long on Stardiver. Now, I didn't like what they did with high jump at the end of Endwalker, where it now is such a fast animation you can't even see it anymore properly. I think that's a bit sad, but that change of course carried over. But overall, this class is honestly fantastic. In my opinion, the best version that we've had of Dragoon. Goodbye Dragonside, you are not missed at all. Dragonside was atrocious. I'm happy it's gone. Always macroed it anyway, unless you try harder like crazy, I guess. I don't know, just not a good skill. I'm happy it is over, that we got rid of it. Now, the only thing that is also something to argue about is Winged Glide. It's a bit weird. It doesn't necessarily look weird or anything. It just... yeah, I feel like we could have kept Spine Shatter Dive, to be honest, just remove the potency. I'm not sure why we needed a change of ability. Felt a bit lazy that we got something different here instead of just saying goodbye to potency on Spine Shatter Dive. Would have been fine too, in my opinion. I mean, most of us use it anyway as gap closers if we knew something was coming up there where we had to hold it. Otherwise, it was part of our burst window. But this, like I said, this version of Dragoon, in my opinion, is the best that I have played so far in all of my Final Fantasy XIV career. Usually I would now talk about a few changes I would have liked to see or something like that, but honestly there's not really anything I want to add to this class right now. I think it is great. I want to enjoy it for a time the way it is. Like I said, personally, Drakesbane was something I would have not introduced and just give us an enhanced Fang and Claw or Wheeling Thrust instead, something along those lines. But overall, nothing really that I would change besides Stardiver. Yes, Stardiver, not as huge of a lock would be great, but I also don't want the animation to be gone, so that's the downside of it. Anyway, thank you a lot for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this gave you an idea of how Dragoon plays like and what it feels like, and of course my opinion on Dragoon. Maybe you now want to level it. If you do, let me know in the comments. And again, like I said at the start of the video, if you already have leveled it, please let me know what you think about Dragoon, how you feel about it, and if you dislike it, if you like it, just let me know whatever you think about Dragoon, of course. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you, I don't know, just I don't want to say learn something today because that was not a learn video, but I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had a good time, and I'll see you in the next one, of course.